I often have people come to me saying how difficult it is for them to lose control. And they know that, especially for spiritual reasons, how important this art of losing control is. And we talk about that often, and how important it is to let go and to let God. But whenever push comes to shove, we all know that this is a lot easier said than done. Because whenever we lose control, we expose ourselves to possible suffering. Like, to lose control means that there's a great risk that the future may not happen as we hope, that things may not work out as we plan. To lose control is to let go of those hopes, because we're not sure what may happen, and we may experience great suffering in the process. But as we reflect on Holy Week, and as we just read the most beautiful story ever told, we see that Jesus lost control on purpose. That Jesus humbled himself, as St. Paul says, humbled himself for our sake. And as he humbled himself, he bridged heaven and earth for us. Think about it. God, being so transcendent and so much bigger than us, chose to humble himself to become one of us in order to give us access to him. That could have been enough to prove his love for us, but he went a step further. In addition to becoming a baby, he grew and exposed himself to persecution and ridicule and suffering. He chose to enter Jerusalem on Palm Sunday on a donkey, humbly. He chose to allow himself to be betrayed by Judas. He chose to humble himself to wash the disciples' feet. He chose to allow himself to be beaten, scourged, and crucified, and to die for our sake. God took a risk. He humbled himself to prove his love for us. He chose to lose control for our sake. And even further, he chose to humble himself to remain with us forever in the form of the Eucharist, to remain with us in such a vulnerable material state, what looks to be bread, but is actually God. We will be reflecting on all of these mysteries throughout this week. And I want to invite you to make this week holy. This is Holy Week. It's the most important week of the year. It's an opportunity for us in the busyness of spring. We're all busy. In the chaos of our life, we can take a step back and allow this week to be different. We can take a step back and perhaps enter more deeply into the passion of Christ. So how can you make this week holy? I think we can all do a number of different things, whatever works for our families, but we all should be doing something. Maybe it means that as a family you watch The Passion of the Christ, the movie that Mel Gibson directed. Or maybe it means that as a family you read through the gospel accounts of Jesus' death and resurrection. Maybe it means you won't watch TV this week, and instead you observe the silence and invite your home to be a place of prayer for this week at least. I'd like to invite you, though, to join us for our Triduum liturgies, and we'll actually have Tenebrae on Spy Wednesday, and then our Triduum starts Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter Vigil on Saturday. And all throughout the week, we will be reflecting on the mystery of the Eucharist, how God humbles himself to become with us in the Eucharist, and that Jesus bridges heaven and earth through the Eucharist. The USCCB, the United States Catholic Bishops, about a year ago began to encourage all of us in the United States to reflect on the Eucharist, to breathe into this revival, this Eucharistic revival, to renew our Eucharistic faith and devotion. Because far too many of us fall short in our response to God's humility. Far too many of us approach the Eucharist with a sense of nonchalance, irreverence, or disbelief. So I'd love to invite you to join us for our Triduum liturgies. All the times will be in the bulletin. And also, if you haven't been to confession, we'll have extra confession times this week for you to take advantage of those. But whatever you choose to do, just invite you to make this week holy. Just as the Lord humbled himself for our sake, perhaps we can humble ourselves and make this week different. Amen.